Now it's time to get ready for step 2 of our rock tumbling adventure. Hi everybody, Beanmeister22 here. As we saw the opening of the video, that was what the rocks looked like after our step 1. Now we are going to load up those step 1 rocks to do step 2 tumble. Step 1 just smoothed everything out. Took the rough edges off. Step 2 is going to do a little more smoothing. Not really quite polishing yet. That's the finishing touches. But they're going to be a lot smoother after this step 2. And remember, for step 1, we just did a very quick 3-day fast tumble. Step 2, we're going to try to go for 6 or 7 days, and it's going to be a much slower tumble. We're going to add the step 2 grit, which is a medium 180-220 silicon carbide grit. And it's approximately 2 tablespoons per pound of rock. And we're doing heaping spoonfuls here. So yeah, we're just winging it. We're going to try not to spill any of this stuff because number 1, it's expensive. But number 2, it's a pain to clean up. Yeah. And don't forget to always secure the lid in the container, because if you knock this over, number 1, you're going to be out all that polishing grit, but it's going to be, like I said, a mess to clean up. We're going to add the water. You want to fully cover the rocks with water. You don't want to overfill the container, but you want to make sure the rocks are fully submerged. Now we're going to put the lid on. First you put the inner lid on, and you want to make sure there's no grit or anything weird that comes between the lid and the lip that it rests on. It will affect the seal. You're going to have leaks. And if you have leaks, you're going to have a bad day. Make sure it's on good and tight. Now we're going to put the outer lid on. Remember, the outer lid is secured with that thumb nut up there. Now we put the thumb nut on. We want to make sure we don't do it too tight. So first we have to make sure that outer lid is snugly down all the way down. We put on the washer and we start turning that thumb knob. You want it to be snug, but not so tight that you can't get it off or that you're going to damage the threads. If it's too loose, it will spin off during the tumbling process. And like I said, you're going to have a bad day. Check it for leaks. And let's weigh it and see actually what this weighs. Alright, so we're just over 3.5 pounds. Remember, I didn't tear it out with the empty container. Now we're going to put this on our tumbler. It's a dual tumbler. So let's rig up the other container. We're going to start with some tiger eye rocks. About 1 pound of them. There is 1 tiger eye rock in that first tumble, but this is going to be straight tiger eye rocks. We're going to put them all in there. We have 1 pound of them, so there's going to be considerably some extra room in this container. So we need to fill up that extra space, otherwise the rocks will just beat the crap out of each other. So we're going to put some of these pellets in there, these plastic pellets. Number 1, that will help take some room, but these pellets, when you add the plastic and ceramic pellets, it will help the rocks to tumble more quietly. Get those smoothed out in there, and we still got extra room, so we'll put in some ceramic pellets. Hopefully this will make a tumbling considerably quieter, because remember, week 1 tumble was loud. Now we have to add the step 1 grit. Remember, it's a coarse grit. It's a 60 to 90 grit, also a silicon carbide. Approximately 2 tablespoons per pound of rock. Not pound of ceramic pellets or other stuff we have in there. Add some water. Make sure we cover it all up. Got to make sure there's enough water in there. Like I said, we don't want too much, but we don't want to short the water. The water gives the slurry and the rock something to swim around in, and will also carry the rock particulates away from the rock. If they were just rocks beating on each other in there, eventually it's going to turn to gravel, and then you go long enough, it's going to turn to sand. And then I imagine if you really go long enough, it's going to turn to powder and dust. So we put the inner lid on, making sure it is a good seal. Remember, it's rubber on rubber, so it can be difficult sometimes getting that on properly. Put on the outer lid. Make sure the outer lid is snug. Tighten up this thumb nut here. Not too tight, but certainly tight enough that it's not going to come off on its own. And then we're going to check to see for leakage. You don't want any leakage. These things are going to tumble for days at a time. You're not going to be watching it the whole time, and you'll be surprised when it comes open. So let's weigh it and see where we're at here. Just about 3 pounds. So that's water, rock, a little bit of filler, and the container itself. And we will put this in the other position on this dual tumbler. We have them marked week 1 and week 2. The heavier week 2 we have closer to the motor. Now this is what it sounds like. It's recommended you run your tumbler in an out-of-the-way place, like a concrete floor in a garage. It needs to be on a firm surface. So if I don't have it on the linoleum floor inside, I put a piece of wood down, and then I'll do it, right there on the carpet. It's on a hard surface. If it leaks, I'm going to know about it. But it's also somewhere where we're going to notice it, because it's right here where people are going to see it. If you have it hidden away on a shelf or in a laundry room or back in a closet or in the garage, you're not checking on it as often as you really need to. What we're seeing here is what the rocks looked like after the step 1 tumble. Each of these squares is 1 inch. That shows you the size of the rocks. And I have some pictures somewhere that actually shows how big the rocks are when we first started. They were bigger than what you're seeing here, obviously. And next we're going to look at the tiger eye rocks that we're putting in for its step 1 tumble. Some sharp and jagged edges, but when tiger eye is polished up, it just looks so nice. Alright, sports fans, so that's our setup for step 2/week 2, because we're actually going to go a week this time. Leave your comments in the comments section. As always, thanks for watching.
Meister 22, the most dangerous man on YouTube.